And I think you get a lot of different answers depending on who you talk to, because everybody has had different experiences. I think in some of the particular cases that you're mentioning, I think there's a lot of things. There's within the hip hop genre, you take a bunch of people who often cases were new to the faith and were in their early 20s, and very passionate and very zealous, and there's room for headbutting within that. And so with a lot of the artists we're talking about in this scenario, you have guys who have been around a lot longer now, have grown and matured in the faith, which has helped them to be able to relate with more different people and work with more different people. I think everybody still picks wisely in terms of, I think sometimes people think of unity as everybody needs to rap on the same song together, everybody needs to put other people on their concerts and everything like that. And I think that it becomes a much more important issue that gets fleshed out day to day when we do cross paths and things like that. I mean, there was a time where the majority of my fellowship was long distance with other people because they were artists and because we related in that way. Now my fellowship is mainly wrapped up in my local church and with my family and my friends within my community, and I have artists that I have great affections for, and whenever I cross paths with them, it's always a joy. But I think sometimes there's an unrealistic expectation also set on, okay, because all these guys are Christian rappers, that should mean that they're all best friends and they all help each other do everything and get their records out and everything, and it puts a pressure sometimes on the artists, and the result of that sometimes has been people, various immaturities, disagreements, sometimes valid disagreements as well, that are healthy disagreements. And so in some of these cases, we just rejoice. I mean, I've been a fan, in the particular case of Black Mode, I've been a fan of what they do for a long time. And now, just in God's timing and by His grace, we've been able to cross paths, benefit, and be mutually encouraged by having fellowship. And I think those are great scenarios whenever that can happen. People who are doing ministry independent of each other can cross paths and learn from each other, glean from each other, be encouraged by one another. And I think that a lot of those doors are opening right now, just based on the growth of the platform as a whole, and the types of opportunities that are available. But yeah, I think that it's a unique thing in the sense that there is some level of so many different artists and so many different styles and so many different things, and I'm in terms of doing a favor for somebody or loving somebody, it's like I'd rather that be through prayer, phone conversations, one-on-one talking and stuff like that, before it is on a record, on a tour. A lot has to happen behind the scenes, and that's not always seen, but a lot has to happen behind the scenes to build through the years for people to get to the point where they can co-labor in ministry effectively and have a good chemistry, and so a lot of the things, I think sometimes also the fans, message boards and things like that, sometimes you have people speaking on behalf of artists, and saying things that the artists themselves have not said, or maybe saying something the artist said but nuancing it in a certain way that makes it much more sharp and abrasive, and cutting, when in reality it's something that might be a disagreement in gentleness and humility, that would be dealt with privately and not on a message board or on a blog video and these types of things, so I think it's one of those categories that there's just so many layers to it, and it's nuanced from person to person, experience to experience, but we do see God's grace. I think for us personally, we know that God, it's His grace in maturing us and growing us, that has helped us to have healthy relationships with people that maybe we didn't get a chance to cross paths with or work with in the past.
And I think it's also important too to note that unity comes also by way of relationship. So it's not that we were sitting in one particular region or genre of music and some other folks were in a different genre and we were just like, we're just going to be unified with these guys. I think what ended up happening is that we found our unity through the Messiah, and that caused for us to want to connect with these people on a personal ministry level and pick their brain. Like, man, what are you guys doing in ministry that's fruitful and effective? How could we benefit from that? Would you give us some insight and perspective? And I think in both regards, it was done that way. And so I think we established a relationship and unity with other artists, and we do that for the sake of growing first spiritually. How can we best use our gifts to serve the community, present the gospel, put the gospel on display? And I think anytime you do that, anytime you align yourself for the sake of the gospel, there's going to be great unity there because it's the same spirit moving within you. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the idea too. It's not unity for the sake of a good concert necessarily, or unity for the sake of being able to make hip hop music together, but when you have unity for the purpose of effective ministry, then it's a whole different ball game. And then who you partner with and why you partner together, it becomes less of a stylistic issue, less of a where are you from, what was your upbringing, and more of how can our gifts balance each other out and be useful together as the body of Christ. Yeah.